Mobile World Congress was this week. That's MWC 2018. They announced a lot of interesting phones, sort of. The first one we'll talk about is probably the one that most people are going to be interested in, is the Samsung S9 and S9 Plus. They announced some interesting features, but we'll just go through them real quick. Some of them not so unique. First off, they're having one called AR emojis, augmented reality emojis. So it's basically a knockoff of Animojis, but the difference between this is somehow it takes a picture of you and turns you into a cartoon character that looks kind of like those Xbox 360 characters that you could used to make, but not as good, I think, that you could make years ago really easily. It has the Snapdragon 845 and basically mostly the same features as last year with a couple of changes. The Plus has an extra camera, so the Plus version, the big one, has an additional camera for portraits, and it actually does capture slow mode, like a slow motion mode, at 960 frames per second. A 1 second video of 960 frames per second, that would be the equivalent of 40 regular seconds. So it can slow down a second into 40 seconds. And I believe it's only in 720p, but it's really impressive. I saw some of the video clips coming from it from MKBHD and CNET, and it looked pretty cool. It still has the headphone jack and SD card slot, which that is a plus, as I complained about in a recent...
Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness.
I know, thank you. I'm so tired of companies thinking that those are acceptable to get rid of. But the biggest change they made was that they made a big change to the main camera. And this is both on the regular and Plus versions. And basically, the camera can change its aperture, which is a very technical way to say that basically it has a real low light mode now. So basically, whenever you're in a low light situation, the camera can open up a little bit more and get in more light so you can get better pictures in low light. And it actually sounds pretty cool on paper. And although all these are cool features, I gotta say I was pretty underwhelmed by the S9. I don't think I will be getting one. They also announced the LG V30S, and I think it's actually called the V30S Thin Q. Not too much to say. I kind of like that LG basically went with the name that they used last year. So they launched the V30 last year. This year, they just added a couple things. They added an AI camera, which basically like you take pictures and it can like see things in the pictures, and like you can go to a store and take a picture of something, and then you can buy it online instead of at the store that you're at, I guess. Why you do that, I don't know. But the V30 was a cool phone because you could, they seem to take video really seriously. And they had like really high quality audio recording and like manual video controls and video, which most phones don't do that. These next couple phones are probably a little more interesting. So
now hold on a second. These first two, I gotta ask, what's different from the phones that they created before these, and what's different from these than the other phones?
Well, I'm not a marketing spinster, but
you already know. You already know with me. This is a trick question. There are a few things that are minorly different. You know, the camera is a little better, the processor is a little faster, the display is a little better. Sure, that's great, but like, what's different? Where's that wow factor? Where's that wow? This is the phone I've gotta have.
Yeah, that's just not that anymore. It's just like a nicer version of the phone they released last year with a couple of bells and whistles.
Look,
there's just nothing.
I feel like that's a bigger subject. Why don't we get through the rest of these phones, and then we'll come back to that, because I got a lot to say about that personally.
Yeah, let's talk about these other phones. Yeah, good point. So there was also a Nokia 8110. This might be the most exciting thing for some people, not for me though. This is a 20-year-old phone they're relaunching. It was a phone that they used in the Matrix. That's one reason why it's like a well-known phone. They're dubbing it the banana phone because it's yellow, or like the one of them they're releasing is yellow.
In the shape.
Yeah. Oh, in this shape. Yeah, I guess it's kind of curved or something. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I didn't understand that. Thank you for clearing that up for me, Mikey. I mean, it's $79, but like seriously, who's gonna buy this thing?
I think you're gonna have people that are gonna want to buy this at the price. I think there is a market out there for people who want like a nice phone, maybe even a little bit of nostalgia in there, but they don't necessarily want some high-end Android phone, and they don't want a budget one either, right? So they just want something neat, something simple, and I feel like that kind of fits the bill. It's neat, but it's still nice looking. I'm not sure. I feel like it's more of a marketing gimmick than it is anything.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think this is. I think it's just a company trying to profit off nostalgia. That's what I think this is.
I can't argue with you there. And they're not going to make a lot of money off this phone.
I don't know. Nokia didn't stop there, though, so they did actually release a real phone. And yes, I said a real phone, and I feel fine about that. It's called the Sorocco. I think that's how you say it. And it's basically just a nice phone, but there's really nothing special about it. I didn't see anything that I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. It's just a...
I mean, not only is it more expensive with nothing that's over the top, I feel kind of disappointed from Nokia, right? Because Nokia has been kind of taking a backseat in the game for a little while now. But Nokia, I mean, if it wasn't for Nokia, I feel like phones wouldn't be where they're at today. I mean, they were really kind of pioneers here in the early cell phone game. I mean, they really came out with cutting edge phones and really kind of helped push the envelope towards the beginning of cell phones before you started getting the iPhone and Android phones and everything. But
yeah,
not only are they charging way more, but they're not even releasing these in the US. They want to be one of the top companies in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, and that was news to me. You told me that a little earlier, and I didn't know they weren't releasing these in the US. I have the Nokia SOROCCO. It's supposed to be in US dollars, $925. So it's quite a bit more expensive than the S9. But they're not even releasing it in the US, which is just like, what are you thinking? Exactly what you just said.
And that came from an interview straight from the CEO. So this isn't like some misinformation here. This was an interview with the CEO of HMD.
I think Nokia just lives in their own little bubble, and they just keep revisiting the past. Because I don't think this is the first time they've released an old phone. And
no, I don't think so either.
I don't understand Nokia. I don't understand BlackBerry either. And BlackBerry also apparently wants to be a big player, although I didn't really see any announcements from them. I think there was something, but it didn't really catch my interest. But there is another phone that did catch my interest. So you were talking about innovative phone. This phone right here is kind of innovative. But here's the catch about this one. This is the coolest phone that you're never going to buy, Mikey. It's called the VIVO Apex. It's got a fingerprint sensor under the glass. So like on the actual screen, you can actually put your finger on there and it will sense it, and then it will actually open and unlock the phone. In fact, I think that's what I read. The entire bottom half of the phone is a fingerprint sensor. And what's cool about this technology is it can actually be extra secure, because they have technology where you can actually use 2 thumbs to unlock your phone if you want to. So you have to put both your thumbs on there, or both 2 fingers, or whatever you want to do. You put these 2 fingers or whatever, and it'll use those to unlock the phone. This is really cool tech, and from what I understand, I actually saw an MKBHD video. They are using a camera sensor underneath the glass. And then what they're doing is whenever the fingerprint sensor is going to scan your finger, the screen in the area where your finger is will brighten up to where the camera can see your finger, and it'll take a high-resolution picture of your fingerprint, and then it'll compare it to the one it has stored inside the phone. If it matches, it'll let you in. And it does it really fast, too. So it's a really cool piece of technology. Also, on the front, it's got a full frontal display. But the problem with doing that is there was no room for a front-facing camera. So there's a little bit of a drawback there. So what they did to solve that problem was they have a pop-up selfie camera. So it actually is a camera that pops up off the top to take pictures.
Let me interrupt. I'm sorry. That sounds like one of the coolest things that ever would have happened in like 94.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's such like an old school kind of thing. I don't get it. I think it's neat, but it's one of those, it's not very practical, right? And how long before it breaks? And what kind of case are you gonna put on your phone, right? Because everybody wants to put it in their OtterBox or their, life-proof case to keep it safe. What kind of case are you gonna put this in? I don't know. I feel like that's like a goofy thing that like would be so cool if we were in middle school.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. It's kind of silly, and it's one of those things that like if you had thought about it for 2 seconds, Vivo, that you'd realize that maybe people don't want a completely display phone. Maybe you could just carve up a little bit of space for some other things. But anyway, they also did some other interesting things. If I read this right, they're actually getting the sound. So the speakers on the phone actually come out by vibration. So it actually doesn't have traditional speaker grills. Somehow through the vibration in the phone, it can actually produce sound without a speaker grill. So really cool, really high tech. Also something that you will never buy. Let's just be honest. This thing is not going to be out for a while. There's no word when it's going to be out. Also, I've never heard of the company VIVO before, but I don't think I'm that excited about their phones.
Did they have a price point for it?
No, I don't think there's even a price point. And this isn't changing the industry either. Like, these are cool ideas. And don't get me wrong, the fingerprint sensor thing, like, that's going to make it into phones someday. I would be very surprised if it didn't. But let's be honest, you're never going to buy this thing. But it is really cool, and it is really cool to see what the future of smartphones could possibly be.
But you got to give them credit here. I feel like at least they're trying to push the envelope here. I mean, compared to, Samsung and Nokia or whatever, and LG, I feel like they're not even really trying. Like, they've got comfortable knowing that we'll just buy their new phones year after year, and so they don't have to try that hard. At least Vivo is trying to mix it up a little bit. I mean, maybe they didn't make all the best decisions here, but who knows? Maybe we'll see some better stuff from them. I mean,
at least it's different.
Yeah.
Somebody will buy this phone, just not you, or me, or anybody watching this podcast.
Yeah.